Well, hey there. Here's again the Matrix Doctor. This time around with some thoughts on this presentation here by Mr. Michael Saylor. Don't know if you can read that here. I should look at the video if the focus is in. So this was posted on November 16th. My recent thoughts on Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, and the crypto industry in the aftermath of the sweeping Trump-Vance victory on November 5th. The drivers behind the crypto renaissance, a digital assets framework, and the geopolitical logic of the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, that's quite a mouthful. That's a lot of concepts. That's a lot of different topics that are being addressed. And in this episode here, and nothing I ever say or do or show ever constitutes financial advice. This is just an exchange of information amongst friends. We're just chatting and call it entertainment, having a good time. And what you do with that information is solely resting on your shoulders. And I've found, at least in my life, that when I took responsibility for my actions, I got far better results. I got far more. My harvest was much better. Because if anybody else makes decisions for me, understandably, they get a cut. And that percentage of their profit, that can be very high. And if you believe that you are doing well financially, you may still want to listen in order to understand what's around the corner. Because copier machines and fax machines 20 years ago, like Kodak also, kind of normal cameras, well, out of business, nothing really more to do in that field. So as not to get blindsided, especially the last quarter hour or so of that talk, you can fast forward to go to the geopolitical ramifications of Bitcoin on the world and its economy. That at least should catch your attention. Maybe not your interest, but it should catch your attention. Same as for us here in Florida, knowing that there might be a hurricane around the corner is pretty good to know in order to make our preps and fill up the gasoline and the like. So don't get caught off guard. And very early in that talk, Mr. Saylor, just on a side note, he's a self-made billionaire, founded one of the five largest business intelligence companies in the world with over 30 years of experience. So he's not a newbie. He, at least one should assume that he knows how to analyze data. And he touched briefly on that topic of, so what's the use case of Bitcoin? And that is what I find many friends and acquaintances and family members to be stumbling over, that they say, well, what use is it? What do you need it for? No, what is it supposed to do? And then they rattle down a number of things, and it's the usual suspects. But nobody seems to touch on that its use case is so that you, where's my finger? So that you keep your money and me. But this is about you. There's the camera, so that you keep your money. And I have to go back to that story, which I'm not quite sure if I shared it already here in this circle. A couple of decades ago, I was around 10, 11, 12 years old. And one of my aunties had a board game, sure, and opened up that board game. And inside the board game was some paper money. And I said, oh, what's this? And she said, oh, yeah, this paper money. This was now back in the 1980s. That was around 60 years earlier, used in Germany. It was the Reichsmark. And the one of those Reichsmark bills that I still remember was a 10 Reichsmark bill. which someone with a rubber stamp had stamped over 10 million, 10 billion. And I was shocked that someone just, like in the post office, a rubber stamp, or how some kids have a rubber stamp and then stamp all over the place, hopefully not on the walls and stuff. Okay. Just a cheapo rubber stamp and had revalued that paper money. And that for me back then was extremely impressive. And I thought, wow, paper money really doesn't mean much, does it? If the government can just take a rubber stamp and restamp it in the middle of the night, or maybe during the day, what value does it have? And you might say, well, who cares about cash? No, well, I don't have a lot of cash in the checking account, and my savings account is pretty slim. Maybe you are saying, I'm out of money. Well, then how about getting a plan to get into some money? Or you might be saying it's all in savings. It's in maybe bonds or maybe Standard and Poor's 500 ETF, or maybe you picked individual companies, maybe Nvidia or whatever your pick is. And that's all fine and dandy. Or real estate, or gold, or silver. And that's all pretty nice. But most of that, what I just mentioned, is extremely exposed to the valuation of the paper money. And when I learned these last couple of years that the real inflation in the dollar sphere, no, in the US dollar area, was around 10% every year for decades now, I was quite shaken because I had thought it was 2-3%, the CPI number. But when one learns that the CPI doesn't include real meat anymore, doesn't include gasoline, energy costs, doesn't include, for example, concert tickets to pick your favorite star, music star, whatever, musicals, whatever you like to visit, or if you can still afford to visit it. Now, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, tickets to such events were still included in the CPI calculation. They're not anymore. Now it's just Netflix entertainment that is included in the CPI. And of course, a ticket to some event, take maybe a basketball game. Sorry, I'm not a big sports watcher. So what does such a ticket cost? $100, $150? Well, and I hear that it costs around $150. Let's say $150. Also, a theater ticket to one of the bigger theaters, well-known theaters in the bigger cities, will easily cost you $150. That was already 10, 20 years ago. And you juxtapose this with your, I don't know, $10, $15 subscription to Netflix. Well, that's a big difference. And when you don't include the price of those theater tickets or those concert tickets anymore in the CPI calculation, well, then, of course, your CPI will appear to be much lower. So once one understands that the real inflation is somewhere around 10% per year for decades now, well, okay. And then let's say you have stock, you have Nvidia, Apple, Google, Facebook, Netflix, or the rest of the 500 in the Standard and Poor's. All of them are dependent on, well, selling something. And the selling something is in paper money. And these companies never have $0 on their bank account. They typically have a couple of 100 million, 10 or 100 million in their bank accounts, and they're not doing anything with that money, and that money is decaying at around 10% per year. And the best analog, apparently, to real inflation, and what's real inflation now? We'll get back to that in a moment, is well, when that is around 10%, then all these companies are losing money. And they have to make a profit to exceed and go beyond the loss of money of that what they have in cash. And they have to make something productive. They have to create something useful or to save it in something which keeps its value for the long term. Same with real estate. Real estate also has decay. Though the walls go bad, you need to paint them again. The tenants might not pay. The tenants might live it up in your place, and you have a lot of repair costs. And the price of real estate, if you pick real estate at the right location, okay, it can go up, and you can be lucky that maybe you have some rental real estate, if you're some of the lucky ones, who has it in an area where lots of people are suddenly moving to. Well, then you're the lucky one. But all the other people who are maybe in flat markets where there's no big change, or if you're even unlucky and have your investment real estate in places where people move away from, well, you have to take all of these things into account when you look at what your wealth is. And if you have no money right now, how about getting you on track to have some money so that the surprise repairable for your car, that the surprise breaking of your washing machine or dryer is not any more a scary thing, but it's just okay, let's get a new one kind of event. And for that, we have to think about investments and what to invest in. So all these things that I mentioned until now are exposed to some degree to the inflation of the paper money. And we all know it's happening just when it's only really 2, 3% seemingly in the milk that we buy daily or the bread or the things of daily life. Then we don't notice it much. No, who keeps track of if, I don't know, if 10 packs if 6 packs of toilet paper are $100, or if you 1 year later for 6 packs of toilet paper pay $103 or $110, we don't really notice. And because for a smaller unit of whatever we buy, it's only a cents or maybe a buck, and 12 months later, we don't remember that kind of detail. Now, who scrutinizes the prices that much? We kind of pick and choose and say, okay, I need toilet paper, and then kind of off it goes into the shopping basket. So, in order to keep our value, we really need it in something which cannot be inflated. Because, for example, desirable real estate in Manhattan, Manhattan is a peninsula. It is, well, you can't really make more land of it because Manhattan, as I've been told, is a rock formation. So you can't really put on some rubble at the edge of Manhattan and make it grow bigger. It is never as hard as rock. You would not be able to build a high rise on it. That's why Manhattan real estate is limited. That's why it is so valuable. And of course, it's so fortunate that all the money managers, the banks, and financial institutions just happen to have gone to that location. So limited is great. And we also know that some of us maybe that limited watches. My watch is not limited. Yes, it's a Seiko, but it was, I don't know, $250 watch or so. Still money. But some people are watch collectors. They're into that. Good for them. And that can probably be fun when you have that kind of money, or when you shake loose that kind of money for that, for something like that. So and these watch collectors or collectors of any kind of thing, what do they collect? They don't collect things that have been printed a gazillion times. They pick things of which there are not a lot of units of, no? All the stamps, stamp collectors, they are individual stamps which are extremely valuable. Well, those are the stamps of which you do not find a lot of. Or coins, some people are coin collectors. So we all understand scarcity. And some of us might drive a sporty car in an unusual color. And when we were single, kind of to have a car which is maybe more unique, maybe catches more the eye of those that we are interested in. So limitedness, I know that word doesn't exist, has value. To be unique has value. At least certain uniquenesses have value. One doesn't want to stand out in a negative way now. So standing out in a positive way and being limited has value. And that is one of the key value propositions. That's the thing that caught my eye. That Bitcoin cannot be inflated. And if you heard otherwise, I would strongly recommend you check your sources and do more reading. The Bitcoin Standard, that's the title of the book, The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous. Ammous is spelled Ammous. It's really a fantastic book to get you started. He was so kind to put a free audiobook version of it on YouTube. You can find it the Bitcoin Standard unabridged. You don't want a shortened version of it. The Bitcoin Standard unabridged audiobook on YouTube. Give it a listen while you're commuting to work. And if you work from home, well, I bet you drive to the supermarket at some stage and to buy your stuff. Then pop it in then. No? Hear it in increments. Or when you're under the shower, listen to it there. Wherever. We all have slots of time where we can listen to stuff. And wrap your head around things that are limited and cannot be inflated. So what's the use case of Bitcoin? You get to keep your money. That's maybe something you want to look into. And as always, I will not make any product recommendations here or sponsorships or the like. You will always find me to be sponsor free. There will be no interruptions ever on my channel. And if you were ever to discover that, then it's either wasn't me, my channel got hacked, or you unsubscribe me. No, that's okay. But you will not find advertisement on my channel. You will not have any interruptions on my channel. At some stage, I'll make interviews, and there will most certainly not be any interruptions or product placements, at least not intentionally. If I were to wear something or my interviewer kind of were to wear something or so, then so be it, or I have a pin. But you will not find any product placements interrupting this because this is so dear to my heart that I believe people really need to be able to immerse themselves into this and maybe gain trust. And yes, I run a business on the side. And if you were interested on that, then you can hit me up separately. That's fine. Then we can chat in another setting, but not here. So, wish you fun on your learning journey. Fun for me here. I wish I had had more people reaching out to me and give me a nudge to study this and say, well, if indeed the value of Bitcoin, which is right now around 90,000 US dollar, if the valuation of it is indeed around $500,000 in just 6 years' time, then maybe I want to study this now. Have a great day. Till soon. Bye.